the world was closed down. Literally, you couldn't go anywhere or do anything. What do you attribute that to? I mean, it can't. I mean, I don't think it was man-made, but it was certainly. I think that we created conditions that were ripe for a body like this, a virus like this, to take hold. I think that some of the things you alluded to earlier, and just not being careful as a country, having good stewardship of our medical apparatus, exposes us to something like this.
Well, I think the first pandemic, right, is stupidity. Because you look at how this happened, right? Now, the fear, obviously, this is a new disease, a new virus. Nobody knows what it is, but people are dying. So that's scary right away.
Right.
But the reaction to it, the first government reaction is like, well, we'll just ignore it and it'll go away.
Right, right.
And then the next reaction is, oh, it's the Democrats. Like the Democrats can't even pick a candidate. They designed a secret virus and spread it worldwide. You know what I mean? So the scientists, right, the Dr. Fauci and all the scientists were up against stupidity. Stupidity's a tough one, man. Stupidity don't get tired. Stupidity is working 24/7, like what Jasmine was talking about. I got some of those texts. Don't take the vaccine because they want to inject you with the disease and kill you. They don't have to. I could just breathe and get the disease. They don't have to give it to me personally. So I think the fear of this, we all shut it down because the fear, this is a new thing and people are dying.
Right.
So immediately it's scary. And then and when I say we, I mean the United States government and our country, the worst possible reaction on every level. That's what was amazing. Yes. We would double down, like it's just going to go away.
Right.
It's fake. It's like every step of the way, scientists and doctors, people who've gone to college and studied these things were like, stay apart from each other. Don't breathe on each other. Clean this, do that. We're not sure what's happening, so we're going to over protect. And people are like, well, my freedom as an American. And it's like, this, I have a friend who I grew up with, a lifelong buddy. He lives in China. He moved to China about 4 years ago. He's a university professor, blah, blah, blah. He said when this thing first hit, because China had been through SARS, when the government said, put your mask on, everyone put their mask on and stayed inside.
Right.
They didn't look at it as a government conspiracy. They were like, uh-oh, here we go again.
Right.
And now he sends videos periodically, and he sent a video. They're walking the streets. They're not wearing their masks.
Right.
I wouldn't say they beat it, but they have it under control because in the initial social they stopped it from spreading so that they get a handle on it.
But I think there was so much misinformation, though. You saw them talking about, during this press conferences, social distancing, but yet they were standing side by side. They said wear a mask. Everywhere Trump went, including the manufacturer of the mask, didn't even wear one. So I think there was so much misinformation. And then as you talked about, these people were like, we're not going to stay inside. The guy walked into a sandwich shop with a rocket launcher, like saying, these are my rights. I should be able to go wherever I want to. So I think we kind of not us, a lot of people go. No. He was like,
well, black people thought you couldn't get it before.
Well, yeah, we did kind of start that initially.
Well, that's true. And the other problem we have, and I have a friend who's a doctor who deals with this all the time. People don't listen to experts.
No.
People would rather listen
Google and Facebook.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. I'm going to listen to a scientist over a politician every day.
Right.
I'm going to listen to a scientist because it's in his name, scientist.
Right.
People chose to listen to politicians, and then that cult of Trump. These are people who actively reject intelligence.
You're absolutely right. But we regardless of what, we have killed truth and intellect. Like, you don't trust anything. You don't trust the government. You don't trust the press. You don't trust bureaucracies. You don't trust doctors. Like, we've killed truth. And at a certain point, as long as truth had viability, as long as there were certain things you could believe, now we get to make our own truth up. And like right now, like when the president of the United States, which was probably the smartest thing he said, was take, you could ingest disinfectants, which is great for Trump supporters because it's exactly what they are. Like bleach is great for them because it works great on great for whites, but it's hell on colors. So it's easy. But the idea that something can say something as silly and destructive as that and not be drummed out by people speaking truth. There were people who would rather just say nothing and go, oh, well, he misspoke, and to make to make excuses for stuff like that than to just assail it as a lie and dangerous.
Well, see, when the thing came out to drink bleach, I encouraged it. I said, if you believe in drinking bleach, please, let's thin the herd. So let's get them out.
Let them go first.
You want to drink bleach? Don't let me stop you. You're right. Intellectual has become an insult. In the past 10 years in the United States, the word intellectual has become an insult.
Right.
And this is one more time, and we all know this, right? They deny it, but everyone's seen the speech. How many years ago did Barack Obama say, hey, listen, this could happen. We need to
right.
He's so smart, it's frightening. It's frightening because he talked about this years before it happened.
And prepared for it.
A panel together for it.
Yeah, prepare for it.
And he also said the world needs to work together. See, that's the other thing we've lost, right? There was a time when the United States would be in the lead on something like this.
Right.
Our scientists would be working with, scientists from around the world, our labs and our facilities. We have geniuses here, there's no doubt. And this time, the rest of the world is like, well, I don't know what's wrong with America, but we're gonna...
But I remember the insult, to your point, they used to call Obama professorial. They used to go, he's so professorial. He's so, it's like he's giving a lecture. They hated his intelligence, and it was almost like an affront. It was like insulting to them, that he was bright and that he was urbane, he was sophisticated, and he was thoughtful. And they took it as an affront to America.
Well, to your point, he was giving a lecture because he was standing there thinking, I'm talking to millions of stupid people.
Yeah.
I give a lecture. That's what you do. You've done it. You've been in a situation where you're educating a group of people. It's like, yeah, I'm giving a lecture. In his case, it was like, man, one more time, I got to give a lecture to all of them.
Yeah, pretty much. And you're right. The funny thing is when he would speak, they would be angry and everything that he would say would make perfect sense. Even some of the policies regarding, our economy and regarding, our the climate change situation, all of that, the stuff that he did, and everyone was in an uproar. Trump, who can barely spell or speak, they sit quiet. Mm-hmm. Nobody says anything.
But they know he's dumb. Here's the thing. They know he's dumb. It's not that dumb is, and you joke about this all the time. Dumb is okay if contained, if it's contained, but it gets dangerous when it spreads. And right now, everybody lauds Dr. Fauci. I thought he was intellectual, but I thought he was a coward. I think that at a certain points, you should just say, hey man, if you listen to this dude, it's going to be 100,000 people dead. Which is exactly what happened. But his trying to accommodate stupidity is really why, they went from, you don't need to wear a mask, you do need to wear a mask. Right. So they're saying that just acting earlier could have saved half of the people we lost. But that accommodation of stupidity is as lethal as actually being stupid.
Right. And, Jasmine, to your point of them being angry when Barack Obama spoke, do you know how angry you'd be if while someone was speaking, you had a dictionary and had to look up every word? What that mean? What that mean? Okay. DL, like the masks, and I get it, right? Because this is a science thing. So initially they said we don't need masks. Then they did some study and they said, oh, wait, you do need to wear a mask. Well, that's you've gained information and you've changed your opinion. That's called learning. And that's what happened in that case. Now, it would have been better. I was one in the beginning when they said, don't wear a mask. I got it. Then they said, wear a mask. It's not going to protect you. It's going to protect others like you from breathing on other people, right? and they're like, what about my rights as an American? And I'm like, how about if we just take it as being courteous?
Right.
How about we not make it this big thing and your rights as an American and, you know, you're fighting to go to the beach and this and that. How about if it's just courteous? I do it, man. I pull into the parking lot, right? I put my mask on. I go into the store. I buy whatever I got to buy. I come out of the store. I take my mask off. So I had the mask on for 15 minutes and I'm still an American. You know,
Right.
It's very simple to do this. And it's funny because, I talked about this. The same people, like when they were protesting at the beach about having to wear a mask, they were all wearing sunscreen. They were all wearing sunscreen. I don't have to wear protective equipment, but I'm going to need some of this SPF 50.
There he is. Alonzo Bolt, man. Thank you very
Thank you so
much,
much.
man. Thank you, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
gonna be us. We can drink and talk shit as much as we want. Nobody can say anything to it. D.L. Hughley, Uncut. All right, we are, I think, back.
Yeah, you
think
can
so.
say that. I think that's official.
When last we met,
Things were mighty different.
they were mighty different.
Indeed.
A lot of things are different. Like
Yeah.
where we go on, where we air. That's
Yeah.
different.
That's
I am D.L. Hughley. Welcome to D.L. Hughley Uncut. Not the. I don't want people to think I'm not circumcised. I am.
I'm sure nobody's thinking
Oh
that.
my God.
Nobody's thinking that.
There, of course, is Jasmine Sanders. There is DJ Lucci. So. The thing that comes to mind right away, it took a pandemic to get us back on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A force of nature
Right.
is what we needed.
Hey, the world is ending. Let's bring them niggas back.
It's literally an act of God.
It really is.
I'm sure that's what they said as they sat around the table, too.
Yeah, some people part the Red Sea, other people bring us back. That's what they do.
Well, the point is we're back.
Right.
That's what matters
But
most.
things are so much different than they were. We are in the grip of
A
a
global
global pandemic.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just us that shut down. It's shut down. It's the world.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because now there's so many things that are different. Like we have to be, even to do this, we have to be socially distant.
distant.
We have to be 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I'm pretty sure the dude that set this up wasn't good at math.
Oh, I'm certain we're not 6 feet.
I know I am.
I'm certain.
Yeah.
Well, from him, but probably not from me.
One thing about DJ Lucci, she didn't like some people are like we have people who really don't respect
Right.
like rather than be prepared for, we just shut everything down. But one of the people who really adhere, because millennials get a bad rap because you see them partying at school, partying on beaches, and they go to spring break. Look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is not social distancing.
No.
This is not. But I can tell you one person that is that little fucker right there.
Listen, LaDonna Hughley prepared all of her children
Yes,
for this
yes.
from day one. I don't know how she did it,
Yes.
but she literally prepared us for
Yes,
this.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is literally our MO.
Yeah.
The first time I've hugged my daughter in, I guess,
A month.
a little over a month,
Yeah.
was last Friday for her birthday.
Aw.
'Cause-
But had I known it was my girlfriend surprised me.
Right.
But had I known my parents were coming, I'd have been like, no.
right.
It's not
Because she
happening.
doesn't
Oh, not even on your birthday?
No.
Because she don't want to get us sick, and then she don't want to get her girlfriend sick, and then my wife's father lives with us. We got to keep that nigga alive.
Facts. Even though he tried to kill you guys.
Even though he tried to burn my house down. That's a whole. We got a lot of
We
shows
got
to talk about that.
soon.
But I just think that this is now where we are, and the idea of what is going to be normal for all of us. Like no one will know what the new norm is like.
Right.
Well, I think people are still trying to figure it out because you also have people who really don't believe in social distancing, unlike DJ Lucci. People are partying. They are tight. They have quarantine fatigue is what they're
Right,
calling it.
right.
Yeah.
And they're ready to get out to the beaches and the parks and everywhere else. They want to get out.
But the thing that's interesting is that we've been shut down. Like depending on where you are in the country, there's no uniform way. Some people, but the states that are opening up, like Georgia's opening up. And Georgia, everybody was talking about it's a balance between the economy and keeping the people safe. But Georgia, they decided to open up massage parlors, and they decided to open up barbershops and beauty shops and bowling alleys and nail salons, and that's where poor people go.
Right. Yeah.
And so really this has went from, a nation trying to come out of a pandemic to the purge.
No, it's literally like the part of a movie we don't get to see, like The Walking Dead or something like that.
Right.
Like, we're in the mix where you don't see it, and then when you click on the movie, it's with the zombies.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I'm a firm believer in you are responsible for your own actions.
Sure.
So just because they open these places up doesn't mean you all of a sudden decide you're going to get a tattoo.
No, but
or
I
you're going to get your nails done.
I think
Stay the hell home.
But they've done a very poor job, like depending on where you live. This is the first time I ever wished, because we've been live in California. We've been under quarantine for almost 6 weeks.
Yeah,
right. Almost 6 weeks.
We've been in quarantine for a month.
Yeah, it's the first time I ever wished I lived in a state where they didn't give a fuck about their people.
Like Florida.
Like Florida. Like everywhere they had slaves, they don't care.
Facts.
Everywhere they used to have slaves, we can open it up.
Yeah.
These niggas can take it.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. and like protesters were walking around. Why is it that when white people want to protest anything, they walk around with assault rifles? Like, you can't shoot the virus. You can't. And then they compared it to slavery, which was so dumb. Like, America had slavery for 400 years, and you can't take being under quarantine for 2 months.
Facts.
Yeah.
Like,
they're not used to that, though.
No.
They're not used to being told where they can't go. We are used to it.
Slaves had to pick cotton, and you mad because you gotta pick up your dinner at curbside.
Right. And half of them haven't even been in quarantine that long.
Not at all. Slaves didn't have Postmates.
Yeah. No. Curbside pickup.
True.
Hey, Frederick Douglass, my wings ready. I gotta get back.
But they're the main one who are ignoring the quarantine as well. So they don't. As a slave, you didn't have a choice.
No,
you were told what to do.
And I think that it's for your own good. Like I remember some idiot compared, the quarantine and stay at home to Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks had to sit on the back of the bus because America didn't care about her life. You are being asked to stay home because they do.
Yeah,
they do. And how bad is it for white people that you can compare to a black woman in the 50s? That's when you know you fell off.
And what about those who are saying it's like Pharaoh? Even Pharaoh let his people go. What?
Yeah, Pharaoh let his people go after it was so much disease.
And pestilence. He
let them go because he said, this going to keep happening to you. Let the niggas go.
Kill the firstborn. It's a lot different. It's a lot different.
So I just think, and the thing that's interesting to me particularly is that literally white people have no equivalent. They don't have anybody to point to because there was never a time when they were denied rights as a people. So they got to co-opt ours.
Right.
They got to. So we're just like Harriet Tubman. We're just like, and the worst thing is that you can't be like us, and you have nobody to compare this to. But the one thing I will say is when they said, like I guess the Surgeon General, who you don't see anymore because I guess he fucked up.
They sat him down quick.
But when he said you can't drink or you can't stop drinking and smoking and doing drugs, you can't tell me to not drink and do drugs and not smoke and be home.
Right. How do you think I'm going to survive?
Like,
it's not going to happen.
Either you're going to have a murderer or alcoholic.
Welcome back to DL Hughley Uncut, and don't adjust your whatever listening device or watching device. Right. It's us. We have different mic flags, though.
I don't think they're different.
You don't think so?
It seems like we've been here before.
I think they're different.
I don't know what it is.
Less disappointment.
We have Charlie, Big Charlie in the back.
Yeah, is Big Honey still?
Big Honey still right there.
Yeah, Big Honey.
You can't say he's literally a white shadow.
Yeah, he is.
We couldn't afford lighting for him.
The ward.
Because we couldn't afford lighting, so he actually is a white shadow.
And a big one, but we love him.
I think that we are permeated. Like everybody has an idea of what works. There's just so much fear and so much misinformation. And, everybody, I heard from somebody that said this. And so you can't really tell what is real or not. But one thing that's constant, I don't care what situation we find ourselves in here, in as a country and as a nation, there will always be somebody that acts as zip damn fool.
All the time.
And we have a segment called This Nigga Here. It's somebody that does something every day. Because we do that all the time. You ever watch somebody go, this nigga here?
Every damn day.
What is he thinking about?
Yes.
So I want you to take a look at this clip. Jeff, you got the clip for me?
Senator Dale Zorn from Ida, he says the whole thing was a mistake and a misunderstanding. But he says he still feels that time period should be taught in schools.
I think even if it was a Confederate flag, we should be talking about teaching our national history in schools. And that's part of our national history. And it's something we can't just throw away.
So Dale Zorn, who was a senator from Michigan, decided after, all these things that are going on, because the main thing about America, no matter what's going on, pandemic, drought, flood, fire, it's always time for racism. So this nigga here decided to wear a Confederate flag mask.
Well, he said his wife made it for him.
Yeah,
that
of
was
course.
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. He denied it.
Yeah.
Then he said, no, my wife made it for me, so I wanted to wear it.
Right.
Then he came out with a statement of, it's part of history.
Yeah.
It should be taught in school.
When have racists ever liked history? Like everything they don't is uncomfortable for them, they deny.
Yeah.
Like everything, like racists will never, they're responsible for everything good. Like everything, modern civilization, America, they created or responsible for everything except the word nigga. They weren't responsible for that. That was hip hop did that.
But the other thing is, look at the way that they frame history. Remember the article that we talked about that was in, I think, the New York Times, and it talked about Thomas Jefferson?
Right.
And the little romantic
Right.
apartment that he had for the love of his life, Sally. And we know that was not true, but that's the way they remember it, and that's the way they tell it, and the way they teach it.
But history is amazing because they don't generally want to talk about it. If they wanted to talk about history, it wouldn't be out of so many of the nation's textbooks.
Right.
Like if you're in Texas or Louisiana, it's not called slavery.
No.
It's called the people want to work.
Yes. Look at their nice uniforms.
But the Confederate flag, if we're going to be realistic about history, was a symbol of treason, tyranny. You took up arms against the United States of America, and there are men who talk about we want freedom, but they wanted the freedom to deny other people freedom.
Right.
And most of the symbols of the Confederacy actually came about after the Civil War. After the Civil War, like the Union Jack and the statues came about not as symbols of what was going on in the war, but to terrorize people.
Yeah.
And in Michigan, you could tell. Here's how I know the state capital of Michigan ain't Detroit, because he wouldn't have got away with that shit.
Well, first of all, he was on the floor of the Michigan Senate.
Right.
Of all places.
Of course.
You wasn't at Nana's and Papa's.
Right.
You were on the Senate floor.
Right. Yeah, it's only two white people in Michigan, Kid Rock and Eminem.
You know what it reminds me of? When he said, Jazz said his wife made it, that scene from Django, when they cut the holes. And don't ask me or mine for nothing, when his wife made it for him. Man, don't wear it.
Yeah.
But like no matter what is going on in America, there is always time. I don't care what you say. There's always time for racism. Like even the race car driver, was it Dale Larson?
Oh yeah,
who got caught? He was on a video game and he said nigga, and then he pretended like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, and I wasn't raised that way.
Not who I am.
Here's what I would like to say: if you get caught being racist or saying the N-word, stop telling people that you weren't raised that way. You were.
Right.
If you follow somebody who said the word nigga home, it's somebody answering the door who taught them.
That's true.
It is something, and there always is time for racism, because no matter what, people don't seem to understand that we are firmly entrenched. It doesn't matter what aspect we're talking about. We're talking about people dying. We're talking about the economy upended. We're talking about things never being back to normal. But the thing that satiates the American psyche more than anything else, the thing that we're most comfortable with, is the fact that we're very familiar with racism in every form. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what's going on.
Yeah.
There's always time for niggas.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. It's like a Sunday dinner. You know what to expect.
Right,
and you're
right.
waiting for it. Mac and cheese,
Right.
sweet potatoes. You know what it's going to be.
And
racism.
If his wife was going to make him a mask, Why did she make it one with enough room for that extra chin?
Bruh, that gobble gobble right there.
That's called a waddle. The waddle.
He has more chins than a Chinese phone book. I don't understand.
Welcome back to DL Hughley Uncut. And of course, I have been excited about talking to this young woman.
I wonder why.
You know why, because she's a lovely lady of Delta Sigma Theta sorority.
Oh,
of course,
yeah.
my sorority. And I had to get that in there first before I let you know. Of course, everyone knows she's a former White House correspondent. And she's basically, well, she's still a correspondent. But she's,
right.
I'm sorry, she's actually practicing self-quarantine.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Because being careful and safe, loving her family and loving herself. We get it. But also, I think she's best known as always keeping Trump on his toes.
Yeah.
Please welcome to the show, April
Ryan.
Ryan.
How are you, Miss Lady?
Hello, DL. Hello,
This quarantine got you looking. You got your hair done somewhere.
That's how Deltas roll. Don't worry about that right there.
It's a hot comb in your quarantine. I know that.
Let me tell you something. I've learned how to use a curling iron. Yeah.
Now, it's amazing that you've kind of morphed into your own thing. Like you're doing kind of what you've always, maybe it's what you've always done, but I think a lot of the country, we always knew you, but a lot of country got to know you for your run-ins with the Trump administration, and you were, for decades, a White House correspondent, right?
23 years, DL. 23 years.
And you survived almost everything, wars and floods and earthquake and fires, but you could not survive the Trump administration, which is, you're like the post office.
No. I'm still here.
That's right. Still battling.
Let's clear. Let's be clear. I have run from death threats, and I have not gotten caught, and I am running from Rona, and I'm not getting caught. I will not go back to the White House until the all clear is there. I'm still working. I'm working from home.
Right.
I talked to Congressman Don Byers. I talk to everyone still.
Right.
But it's just not safe. Even the White House Correspondents Association said, if you don't have to come, don't.
But even at that, you were always the epitome of professionalism. But that became increasingly more difficult. It seemed to us, now I can't tell you how you felt, but as an observer, we often talked about it. It seemed difficult to act professionally with people who were determined not to be. Like there's a certain amount of decorum, regardless of what political stripe you adhere to, that there seemed to be a certain respect for the office of the presidency and the media. And that seems to not be the case anymore.
It's not the case. This president has a true disdain for the media, particularly there's even a difference in how he goes after those who are mainstream reporters who happen to be white versus the black female reporters.
Right.
If you notice when some of the reporters just keep going, he has a different demeanor, even in his terseness.
Right.
So it's us.
But he's dismissive. I don't want to use fair and Trump in the same sense. But he's dismissive to everybody. But there's a special.
Yes, there is some extra sauce or something on it that he puts on it. I'm thinking about Yamiche early on.
Yeah, I'll say Yamiche Alcindor. Yes.
Yamiche Alcindor, who works for PBS, a dear friend of mine. And I was watching. I think it was a Sunday. And it was a Sunday. I was watching, and I saw her get up and ask a question. And she.
You remember what the question was?
I forgot. This feels like a year now.
Right.
I forgot what the question was, but it was a Sunday. She asked a question. She kept asking. It was a pertinent question, a real question. He did not want to answer, and she kept going. And I said, "Uh-oh." And I texted her. I said, "Yamiche, be careful." And as soon as I said that, I texted her real time. He said, "Oh, well, yes, and you work for this, and you used to work for the New York Times." I said, "Yamiche, he's giving you a warning. He's letting you know he knows who you are, and he's checking into you." Mm-hmm. And I said that because I had to deal with that. I was alone for a long time, being chastised by the president. He called me a loser, but who's the loser telling people to disinfect with Lysol,
right.
Clorox?
Right.
like I said,
it makes sense for it actually makes sense for Donald Trump to tell his followers to use Clorox, because it's just like him. Clorox works on white people, but it's hell on colors. So I just I tell you.
But you know what, though, for me, that brings me to this point. I think the thing that's so difficult to understand as a citizen watching a journalist do her job, you and Yamiche, same thing, asking pertinent questions that we want to know the answer to, and to know that he can threaten you in a subtle way, or even you know, having the threats that you've had and all of that, you flat out ask him very plainly, are you a racist? And I watched what happened after that, the death threats and needing, you know, bodyguards and things of that nature. What have we come to that we can't even ask necessary questions, especially in your job, to the president?
Something that, as you said before, in a prior segment, one of the people were saying, you know, we need to learn our history. That's the problem. People don't understand civics. They don't understand U.S. government. They don't understand the Constitution. And they don't understand that reporters are part of the First Amendment, freedom of the press.
They're a tentpole of a democracy. They are. You're supposed to be like the referees.
When checks and balances fail, our founding fathers, who did not look like us and didn't expect me to be there, said the press has the right to ask questions, to be independent for the sake of accountability. And now what's happened? And I think about John McCain, the late John McCain. You know, we talk about how we love our soldiers and we support our soldiers because they give us our freedom. But even this president went in on him, a man who was broken and bled for our freedom. And John McCain said something so important. He said, once you start suppressing the press, you begin this thing called dictatorship. And I'm going to tell you something. No truer words have been spoken. And
do you think that what we are in now has any semblance to our aspirational goals as a country? Do you think that we are evolving and elevating, or do you think that we are sliding back?
We have devolved, DL.
Why do you think? Why do you think that is?
Because we are now looking like Russia and China. These are things that happen to the press, or what happens in Russia and China. We are now chastised, mocked publicly, called the enemy of the people. I have to have bodyguards? What is that?
Well, I think that I'll say this. I think he has a particular disdain for women, but I think women of color he has a disdain for, because he honestly doesn't feel like they should even be in a position to have these conversations with him. I honestly, you can see the way he looks at them. Like he like every time,
and he wants to automatically to diminish you, like, oh, okay, like whatever. But when we ask a question that gets under his skin, you know it, and he can't tolerate it. And the crazy thing about it is, like Harriet Tubman did, black women lead the way. We were the ones showing the others in the room that you do not let him knock you down, because this is your job. It's not about you. It's about the American public. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm still standing, and he will not make me leave. Right now, Rona's got me here at home.
But I love it, and I think he hates
all it took to make April stay home was a virus.
But I love how he really believes he can get under your skin, and he can't. And you can see it in his face when you would ask him a question. Certainly when Yamiche asks a question, you can see her standing there very poised, and he hates it. And I think that's why he reverts to name calling and trying to be dismissive of you and your abilities to check him when he needs to be checked.
Well, Sora, as you know, we stand on the shoulders of greatness. We are the dreams and the hopes of slaves and all those who press for freedom. And I'll be damned if I let this president or anyone else, from this president to Sean Spicer to Sarah Huckabee and Omarosa, make me leave hell to the God.
I'm going to say something, and I believe that we're in a situation where it should be a shame. It should be a national disgrace that this country leads the world in citizens that have contracted this virus and that have died from this virus. It should say something about where we are. More Americans are dead right now in this man's presidency than died in the years of the Vietnam War. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that whether you like this or not, this man is incompetent.
Oh, yes.
And I think that to lead people, you have to love them, or at the very least like them. And I think he does not have a true respect for leadership. Means that I'm going to do what's best for somebody else. I'm going to do what's best for the people who elected me. His service is just to him. And I think it's disingenuous to compare him. There are a lot of people I disagree with politically, but from a human standpoint, I can't recall anybody in recent governance history that has had such a patent disregard for humanity. A level, you know what I've never heard this president say during the entire time of this pandemic, which has been, I am sorry. We feel, I feel horrible for these people. My heart goes out to them. Never a tear, never a moment of pure humanity. And I think what he saw, what you saw is that you can't, I know you can't say this, but I think you saw an absence of that from the very beginning.
Well, let me say this. I can say it, and I'm going to say it now because I believe that I'm doing a disservice to the American people by not speaking the truth. And when I say the truth, but speaking without filters. I have covered 4 United States presidents who've called me by name. Well, let's say 3 who have called me by name. This one calls me a whole bunch of names. But I've been there for 23 years under 4 presidents. The last 3, I have seen various situations where there were national emergencies and crises. We had H1N1, we had Ebola, we've had Katrina. I've been there for all of that. And now I'm here for coronavirus. And I'm going to go back to something you said. You talked about leadership. I'm going to say power. Power means service. Power means service. And when he took that oath of office on that January 20th day, he took the oath to protect and serve. And that's not happening. Okay. I have graded presidents in 2 books. And I'm going to give this president, just on Rona alone, I call it Rona, Corona, COVID-19, an F.
Well, no, why, okay. An F, not a D, not a C minus.
An F.
Okay. I'm familiar with Fs, April. I got a lot of them. And I got an F because you know why I got Fs? Because I didn't show the fuck up. I didn't even go to class. I wasn't interested. I did not attend. I didn't even have the basic modicum of motivation to show up. So that's why I got it.
Smart as hell, and I love talking to you. It's like being at Thanksgiving with family when you got the Republican over here, the Democrat over here, and this one over there just have their opinion and their drinky drink, and y'all just going at it.
Oh, no, they drinking for sure.
But no, I gave him an F, and the reason why, number one, for the failing grade, people are dead. And one dying is an F. But if these people didn't have to die, his handling of this, he got in on this late. There are documents that Benny Thompson, Congressman Benny Thompson of Mississippi, who is the head of the Homeland Security Committee in the House, that date back to December 2019 from World Organizations saying, watch out, dated to the White House, dated and sent to the White House. Not only that, Susan Rice in the transition years ago was talking to Michael Flynn about the possibilities, the timeliness of a pandemic coming. They didn't know what, but they knew something was going to happen. They dismissed it. January and February, the president was talking about this is a Democratic hoax.
But he says he didn't say it.
Okay, let's roll the tape. Anyway, we got tape.
Listen, I've been around long enough that when a black woman say roll the tape, you don't want that.
Trouble.
You know?
And you don't say it unless it's not true. I'm not that girl. If there are no receipts, I'm not gonna say it. And
I'll
tell you,
the enablers around him, the people who are not stepping forward, who know these things are true and are not calling it what it is.
And that's the problem, the enablers. And the question is, after this is all said and done, it's unfortunate, once this is all said and done, that's when the investigations are going to happen.
But you would have, April, I agree with everything you said, but here's the thing. It says more about the American citizenry. It says more about us as a population than it does about his presidency. Because the fact that we would allow this, if you just change the names on this particular dilemma, if you change this disaster, if you changed it from Barack Obama to from Donald Trump to Barack Obama, the nation would not act as passively as it has.
Been gone the first day.
Exactly. So we can say that it is not the administration alone that gets an F. It is the American population that gets an F too, because they accepted it.
Enablers. I still believe there are still so many people who want to do right and who are trying to fight. And so many people have been bullied into submission. They fight those people of goodwill. So that's the problem. A lot of people are scared to be tweeted about the president. What's a tweet going to do?
But they took oaths too, like this Dr. Fauci and the other chick. They sat
Dr. Fauci sidelined Dr. Fauci and poor Jerome, as you call him, Surgeon General.
I'll say this. I agree. But we come from people who risk a lot more than a bad tweet. We come from people who risk life and limb to better their families and to protect their communities. So when somebody tells me I'm afraid of this man because he may say something bad about me, it is hollow to me. Yeah. I think the American people, I'll tell you what, this is a true testament of where we are right now. It isn't that people are dying that the American people are responding to. It is that the economy is in the tanker. Because if you had the same number of people dying right now, but the Dow was up and people were still, and unemployment was low, this country would shrug it off. And that is an indictment on us. We can't say that there are good people when so much malfeasance and evil is allowed to be done.
I'm going to say there are good people who are trying, but their voices, I don't know why, are not loud enough. But that's when I have to listen and I have to say, and I'm going to tell you the last thing. I told you his mishandling and the deaths first and then the mishandling, but also DL, the messaging. A president and his staff or those who are in this emergent situation should be in lockstep. There should be no air between them. They should all be on the same talking points, the same page. You cannot trust this president. He tells you about medicines, malaria medicines that are more deadly than anything right now. People are dying, taking it and dying. And then he goes out there from the podium and lies, saying he was being sarcastic, talking about, oh, maybe we'll stick a light in someone, or maybe we can use, if we do a disinfectant on our hands, maybe we can do a disinfectant in the body. When you are a child, your mama and your daddy tell you don't go under the sink because it's poison. What's under the sink? Lysol.
Lysol, yeah. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It really is this. At a certain point, you stop being a good person. At a certain point, you could have had the most stellar reputation. You could have had the most earnest of intentions. You could be the most empathetic human being. But when you allow all that to be corrupted, you have ceased to become a part of that administration, and you become an accomplice. They are accomplices. And so there is... Ultimately is this: when the light is shining like this, there ain't nowhere to hide, and history will be a horrible, horrible estimation of where we are. I got to tell you this. I tell you this every time I see you. One thing I know about you, we haven't always agreed on everything. I think that I've said some things you didn't like. And
a few, I'm sure.
But I respect you, and I respect you are only want for this country what you have exhibited. Empathy, humanity, professionalism, and love. And if they are not, and sometimes they're not worthy of it, and we'll see how this thing works out, but I think we're better for having you around. We are.
I appreciate you, Dion. I love you, but I want to tell you this before I go, and I don't want to sound doom and gloomish, but there are several things I want everyone to watch out for. This is going to be an ebb and flow for 2 years until there is a vaccine, a mass-produced vaccine, and a global immunization. That's going to be at least 2 years. So we've got to be careful until then. And also remember that this administration is taxed. Everything is taxed, meaning we are in hurricane season. and FEMA is already out there.
Fire season's coming up in the West.
It's praying time, y'all. That's all I got to say.
Well, this sounds more like Revelations to me. April Ryan, thank you, baby girl. You be careful.
Love you, girl.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jasmine.
All right. It's D.L. Hughley Uncut.
And we'll rise up. I like the waves. We'll rise up. In spite of the ache, we'll rise up. And we'll do it 1,000 times again. Are we coming or going? Is it on? Is it on? You're in the wind just like a palm tree in a star. But I'll be the only one to break and fall when you call. Oh, give me your hand, give me fire, love me your hand, let me fly. See how cold, no just right, but give me your hand, give me fire, 'cause you ain't no good when you're just so warm, and I'm closing this heart. So make your last call. We can have everything or nothing at all. Give me honest, give me vibe, give me honest, give me vibe, give me honest, give me vibe, give me honest, give me fun, love me honest, let me fly. See how cold, not just right, but give me honest, give me fire, 'cause you ain't no good, no, you ain't no good, oh no. So give me honest, give me fire. Ooh, you just ain't good when you're just so hard. right, couple technical difficulties we're working through. Bear with us. We still got a good show planned for y'all, okay? Hey, yeah, that's better. Thank you. I love you too, all of you. How y'all feeling? Good? Well, tonight's a conversation. I know there's a lot of craziness going on right now. We're going to talk about it tonight, okay? We don't do this up here alone. All right, we need y'all to make this work. So this is a joint effort. Let's get into it. So I learned a lot of times in the past. Yeah, but so like there's different types of love that I should know. Wow. And so my question is, what kind of love is it that can leave me all alone at some bar with just a 6-point sweetly laughing at my foolish heart? Only love can break your heart like poison in dark. How we apart. And if it's all the same to you, this kind of love, yeah, it taught me an ugly truth I was guilty of, oh now. And so my question still remains, what kind of love again can leave him all alone in his car with just the radio blasting, singing to his foolish heart? Honey, don't take your heart. Oh, you are. Oh, yeah. Only love can break your heart like poison, poison dark. How you are. Yeah. Only love can all right, let's keep going. I just have to tell you guys that story real quick. Let's get into it. Whoa. So this is a love story, a love song that I wrote. I wrote this love song to God, but it could be for any of your loved ones. So hold your loved one right now, okay? Here we go. My heart has been a chess ball, making moves and losing out. But played so many times before. Oh, when there ain't nothing to brag about. But this might be enough. When you call, I'm singing your mood. You turn me all the way around. Oh, when I'm tired of the fight, see, I just want you to be forever mine. Oh, you got to be forever mine. Oh, and there's nothing I can see now that ain't been sung before. Oh, but your love is a standout. So come ahead to take the road. Yeah, teaching me my hollow. And now I'm stuck in the bottom. Oh, pick me up. Don't never put me down. Oh, when I'm tired. dance. You know, sometimes I don't always sing, you know what I mean? Sometimes I just want to get down, you know what I mean? Oh, somebody's in the mood. Hey, hey. Ready? The way that you will never seen it before. Looking for my head, keep finding out. You rest in my heart and I get the reward. Winning the crown like a Trojan. Come back, back, back every time. You got me shut like the mouth when they're come out and I wake up blessing my life. I just want you to be forever mine. The way that you will never seen it before. Looking for my head, can't find it no more. You rest in my heart and I get the reward. Winning the crown like a Trojan. The way that you will never seen it before. Looking for my head, can't find it no more. You rest in my heart and I get the reward. Winning the crown like a Trojan. Come back, back, back every time. You got me shut like a mouth when you're wrong. Come out and wake up blessing my life. I just want you to be forever mine. The way that you will never seen it before. Hey. You rest in my heart and I get the reward. When you cry like a Trojan, come back, back, back every time. You got me shit like a mother with us. Come out and never come back to my life. Thank you so much, champ. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for turning up with me. So one of the things, like we said, this is a conversation, we're talking, and one of the things we like to do is pay tribute to the greats who came before us, who paved the way and allowed us to do what we do. So we are at a jazz festival. Are there any Nina Simone fans in the audience? So, in 1963, in a Baptist church on 16th Street in Birmingham, Alabama, a woman is sobbing, and this woman is holding a shoe. And this tiny little white shoe she's holding has blood all over it. And she's sobbing because this bloody white shoe belonged to her now dead daughter, who was in a church earlier that day that was bombed because of hate. God damn. Now, surely justice can deal with injustice like that, right? Whoa, wait a minute. A man peacefully pulling his wallet out of his pocket was shot 4 times dead in the arm. Surely justice can deal with injustice like that, right? Well, now our pants they stand a little low, we stand a little taller, and we talk about injustice like this. Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi. Oh, goddamn. Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi. Oh, goddamn. Man, oh man, oh man. Sometimes we get pissed off. We can't stay that way though. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get progressive. We'll talk about that. So we're still talking. I'm gonna tell you guys a story about my life. Don't judge me, okay? You don't know I called him the teacher. He had hard lessons for the kids. Now I get out, but you true had he put me under that same spell. He loved me, stressed me out. You love me like a precious gift, and he loved me like a sloppy kiss. And you would tell me nowadays, not stand the pain. Oh, what did I let you drown? Baby, would you believe that I've been broken? You saved me for me. Say again and again, I see the real life scream to me. I give up, Lord, for grain of sand slipping through my hair, slipping through my hair. Now you have no problem with commitment. Like a king is loyal to our city, and you look for a ring to fit while I play wifey with the king of the Baby, would you believe that I've been broken? You saved me for me. Say again and again, I see the real life, real me. I give up, Lord, for grain of sand slipping through my hair, slipping through my hair, slipping through my hair, slipping through my Baby, would you believe that I have been broken? You saved me for years. Say again and again, I see the real. Now it's real to me. I gave up gold for grain of sand to let the living through my head, slipping through my head, slipping through my hair, slipping through my Thank you, thank you. Okay, so I have to tell you, we all have that person or that thing in our lives that we gotta say, let go of my hand, okay? We have that person in our text message history right now, okay? Okay, let's get funky for a minute. Let's talk about it. Just me, I and my time. A wisdom gem, yeah. to myself that I buy for years, scraping behind you. Trying your best to excite me, 'cause you know you must leave me a more than one or two. A fiery night. We broke I love y'all. Thank you so much. So, like I said, we're still talking, and we like to pay tribute to the greats who came before us, but we also like to honor those artists nowadays that are conscious and that are making amazing music. And I'm a big hip-hop fan. Are there any hip-hop fans in there? And I don't know about y'all, but it excites me how hip-hop always has embraced jazz music, yes? So I always say that jazz inherently evolves and transforms. And so I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan. Are there any Kendrick fans in the audience? Okay. Oh, that's good. So one of his songs off of his early album, I love so much, and it's a song called No Makeup, because I think at a point in my life, you know, I enjoy makeup, I have fun with it, but it used to own me. It used to define how valuable I was, and the more I took those things off, the more the people in my life who were there for the wrong reasons were moved out of it. So I just want to pay tribute real quick, and I want to do this song, No Makeup, for you guys, because I love it, and I love you guys, so we'll make it work. I love the way you put it on your hands. The colors on your face light up the sky. Those lips are colorful. I love the time. Girl, that's fine, but do you mind no makeup? I know she about to ask me how she look. I tell her beautiful and how long it took for you to put it on. It was early in the fall. She resembled the models out of the neighborhood, concentrating on the way the eyeliner thickens. You staring at her and trying to figure her vision. The wittiness, the prettiness, the colors on her skin tone, her complexion and the direction of her grown. Damn girl, I so mad. You about to blow your cover when you cover up. Don't you know your imperfections is a wonderful blessing from heaven? It's where you got it from. I love your smile. You can do it without style. From your lips all the way to your eyebrows. It's the beauty in her, but when the makeup occur, I don't see it. All I see is I love the way you put it on your eyes. The colors on your face light up the sky. Those lips are colorful all of the time. Oh, girl, that's fine, but do you mind no makeup? I know she about to ask me how she look. I tell her beautiful and how long it took for you to put it down. It was early in the fall. She resembled the models out of the neighborhood, concentrating on the way that I line and thickness. You staring at me and trying to figure my vision. The wittiness, the prettiness, the colors on my skin tone, my complexion and the direction is outgrown. I feel like it's not enough. I can never put on too much makeup. Again, I know my imperfections. I be constantly stressing from you. Is what I get it from. They tell me I need to smile at least once in a while. I hate my lips, my nose, my eyebrows. It's the beauty in me, but what you don't see is that I had a black ID. Okay, so we're gonna move things along and take it way back for a minute, right? Okay. Is there any Lil' Kim fans? Hey, here we go. Listening to what your girlfriend says. I know you tell me on the radio. True, I know you tell me on the radio. True. Listen, like Kendrick says, you ain't got to get drunk to have fun. You ain't got to get drunk to have fun. Got to get drunk to have fun. You ain't got to get drunk to have fun. Cause you I love y'all. Okay, so we're gonna keep it rocking. Yes. So while we're talking, this is still a conversation, right? So I want to talk about family because that's a big thing for me. All of these men and women up here and behind this stage,
our family. And all of you out there are my family as well. And this doesn't work, you know, without every family member pitching in. Y'all gotta listen real good. We gotta play real good, you know what I'm saying? So I want to take a second, though, to highlight this man in particular. So they're all amazing and gifted, and he over here is extraordinarily gifted. He is one of the best keyboardists, but also probably the best vocalist I've ever heard in my life. I had to do it. And I always say, when I first heard Charles sing, he made me want to be a better singer, a better artist. He's helped to grow me as an artist. And so I just think it would be a real tragedy if we left this place without him blessing y'all with a song. Because he's also a gifted songwriter. So, Charles, I will step to the side. I'm going to step over here with the backgrounds. And ladies and gentlemen, I give you Sir Charles Jones.
Yeah. Give it up for Andra. Like, she's a rare human being to let somebody do that. Okay. It's such an honor to sing for you, Cape Town. If you feel good, clap your hands along to the song. Sun shining on my bad days, when my sky's gray. Just one smile makes my whole world brand new. You are the one. Every minute I choose. With your family, you're there for me, and I'm so grateful to know someone just like. Where would I be without you? Hey, I don't know where I would be. Where would I be without you? Oh, and I never, never want to find out. Where would I be without you? Oh, I don't know where I would be. Where would I be without you? You are the one.
I didn't have these big old boots on, I would take them off and throw them at him, okay? That's right. So this is what we get to experience every day with this man. Thank you so much, Charles, for that. So we're still talking, and I want to have a serious conversation really quick. I want to switch gears to a song that's very special to my heart. And my prayer with this song is always that it infects people and affects people. I always pray, let it be something that's healing. Let it be something that's encouraging, that's inspirational. And I know in the last couple of days, South Africa, you guys got some interesting news that has been weighing heavy on your hearts. And so, obviously we're dealing with some stuff in the U.S. as well, too. And I just wanted to come here. I'm going to be polite about it right now. But anyway, so what I want to say is really I would like to make this, instead of something about anger, although being fired up and, being progressively angry, wanting to do something, understanding that we can't just sit and watch the scene pass or just expect it to pass. We have to stand up and we have to do something. We have to say something. We have to all come together as South Africans. We have to all come together as Americans and say we won't stand for this anymore. We're better than this. We deserve more than this. And so I want to speak to all of you guys who are tired, all of you guys who aren't sure about the future, who don't know what's around the corner, and I want to just instill a sense of hope in you. Because the only person that we really serve, that I know I really serve, is upstairs, is way, way, way upstairs. And that's who really controls our fate. But we still have to act, and we still have to do something. So I want to encourage all of you guys and encourage us on this stage and backstage tonight. This song is called Rise Up. I hope you enjoy it. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out. Ooh, mountains, we gon' walk it out. Mountain, and I rise up, I rise like the day, I rise unafraid, I rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. For you. Silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. Oh, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, yes we can. Move. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you. We have each other. Yeah. We will rise, we will rise, we'll rise up. Yeah. We'll rise, I'll rise up, rise like the day. I will rise up in spite of me. I will rise. so much, family. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us, fam. Before we finish here, we love you so much. You guys have been so amazing. And I really hope that we all leave here encouraged and uplifted. But before we finish, I just want to shout out my amazing band. This is Dave Wood. I call him Master Shredder on guitar here. We have the beautiful ladies, Crystal Starr and Kira DaCosta on backgrounds, and basically just on flavor, you know what I mean? We have my man, Shay Godwin, who I call Dr. Octopus, on the drums. We got my boy, Nando Rayo, Pico de Gallo, the funk man himself, on bass. And you all know, good and well, Sir Charles Jones. So, before we finish, I know this is a jazz festival, but we lost a legend recently, Chuck Berry, the father of rock and roll, as we all know. And he inspired so many bands. He inspired us, and he inspired a band that we love, Queen, this song that we do all the time. So in honor of Chuck Berry tonight, we're going to rock. We're going to end this by rocking.
Just in the alley creeper. Night on the beat. Young for the screaming. No time for doubt. With the pain and anger, can't see a way out. It ain't much I'm asking for. I heard her say, got to find me a future. Move on my way. I want it all. I want it all. Give me a game plan. Gotta shake you to the ground. Just give me what I know is mine. People, do you hear me? And just give me the sign. No, it ain't much I'm asking for. I gotta give you a future. Dreams of a I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. I want it now. I want it now. Hey. I want it all.
The year was 1942, and President Franklin Roosevelt issued a directive to construct an emergency supply route across Canada to Alaska. It would become a modern engineering miracle, matched only by the construction of the Panama Canal, the Alaska-Canadian Highway. Often overlooked in this great engineering achievement were the 3,700 black soldiers who played a tremendous role. Let's meet the black World War II heroes who helped tame the Great North as builders of the Alaskan Highway.
There were 4 units, 3 regiments, the 93rd, 95th, and 97th regiments, and the 388th Battalion that were assigned to the Alcan project. For the most part, these soldiers came from the southern states, Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi, and a few from the Northeast, and those were the ones in the 388th.
I happened to be a part of the 97th Engineer Regiment, which was trained at Eglinfield, Florida, to go to Alaska to build the northern sector of the Alcan Highway. My job was to make a collection of the construction on the road, problems with equipment, and a progress report was supposed to be sent to the Corps of Engineers in Washington, D.C. every 2 weeks.
In the 1940s, we had blacks who, some were conscripted, a lot volunteered to serve because they saw this as an opportunity to prove to the world that they could fight, wanted to fight, and they felt that by fighting and shedding their blood, that this would cause the country to treat them as equals, as full citizens.
From Crispus Attucks, the first to die in the Revolutionary War, to Prince Whipple, the lone black man who joined George Washington as he crossed the Delaware. From the firing of the first cannon of the Civil War, black Americans have helped to carry our country's flag to victory. In World War I, they fought for freedom, even though their own freedom was limited by segregation at home. When white American soldiers refused to fight by their side, black Americans fought with the French and distinguished themselves in battle. They went on to become the first American troops to receive the French Croix de Guerre. When World War II rolled around, Uncle Sam wanted everyone to fight, that is, except black Americans. And yet, they insisted on the privilege of full citizenship and the right to fight and die for their country. Thanks to the efforts of people like Mary McLeod Bethune and First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, the White House soon gave in and signed a bill allowing 1 million black men and women to join the military. However, segregation applied even in battle.
Pearl Harbor, December 7th. We had a situation where the United States was very uncertain about what else might occur in the aftermath of Pearl Harbor. The air was not a trustworthy place to conduct combat. We didn't think it was. We certainly couldn't trust the seas, and so trying to link Canada and Alaska, this highway, was an interior opportunity that we felt was a safe passage for getting troops and providing for some strategic defense for the continental United States.
Prior to Pearl Harbor, black soldiers were not allowed to serve on active duty. But with so many troops in Europe and the Pacific, and to the dismay of many military leaders, black troops who were held on bases throughout the South were ordered to Alaska.
We boarded a troop transport and cargo ship, the David W. Branch, and we traveled through the inland waterway to Valdez, Alaska.
A lot of them had no idea what they were getting themselves into. You know, you get drafted, you get sent to Georgia to wait for orders, and you get sent to Alaska, places that they could probably never even imagine. and under conditions that were just horrible. They were in combat construction engineer groups. These are the guys who basically clear forests, construct roads, build bridges. It's very hard work, back-breaking work. It's manual labor. The United States military assigned about 10,000 troops to this task, and about a third of those, about 3,600, were African American. These were men who came from the South for the most part. They had never lived in extremely cold climates. They had to endure temperatures that ranged from 80 degrees below in the wintertime to 90 and 95 degrees in the summertime.
Despite being new to these harsh environmental challenges, the black engineering units made steady progress, usually completing 5 miles of construction per day.
The government did not think that these African American soldiers would be successful. The government just said, okay, we're going to send them up there with poor equipment, with no ammunition, with isolation and a whole bunch of other obstacles. And the soldiers were able to overcome every single one of them.
We had what had been designed to be Arctic clothing, but we had to improvise. For example, Arctic boots never worked. You needed to have freedom of motion in your legs and toes, so we found that galoshes were the best item to wear on your feet. Then we had layers of stockings, barrel-up stockings, wool stockings, turtleneck sweaters in order to cover over your nose, and we had parkas, Arctic parkas.
The gentlemen had to have the right layers of clothing on because even within their tents, they would freeze. See, most human beings can't fathom once it gets down to 20 below, but imagine 70 below zero. They would beat their chest to stay warm. They would jump up and down. They would do whatever they could to stay active to keep the circulation going. So they were constantly working around the clock to beat the elements.
The major construction equipment consisted of D8 Caterpillar tractors, D4 tractors, and we had General Motors 2.5-ton trucks, carry-alls 1.5-ton trucks. We had dump trucks of different manufacturers mixed. Some of it was used and in ill repair. The original trucks that we took to Alaska, believe it or not, had no heaters.
The government not only gave them ill equipment, poor equipment, but they gave them an abundance of equipment, so much was wasted. There were so many stories of where they just let the truck go off a cliff, or they didn't care if the dump truck or the Caterpillar bulldozer was just stuck in the water and frozen because the government didn't care.
One of the major problems operating vehicles in sub-freezing weather was condensation would form little balls of ice which would stop up the gas lines. So we had 2 drivers who were trapped on the highway that we were constructing who froze to death before they could get to help. After that, every 10 miles we constructed a little log hut with a stove so that no matter where you were stranded, you didn't have over 5 miles to get to a place where you could find a means of warming up. The bulldozers and heavy equipment and the road graders would create about 3 miles of military road each day. We were blazing the trail.
Obviously, the element is one issue. Equipment is another issue. And I dare say esprit de corps or morale will be another issue.
During that period when the armed services were segregated, the officers, the commanding officers, were white. A lot of them didn't want to be assigned to black units because for many of them it was the kiss of death. If you get assigned to a black unit, your career is going down the tube. And the soldiers knew it. They didn't like having to be led by officers who really didn't want to be a part of them.
the commanding officer by the name of Buckner issued a warning that in no way did he want the black soldiers to mingle with any of the white townspeople because he did not want a mongrel race to be created.
So he brought with him some very strong stereotypes and some very strong feelings about blacks and about their role in the armed forces. And if he had his druthers, they would not have been there. But again, it was a manpower issue. They needed to have those men there, and he relented. But it was only because of necessity.
They brought that segregated stuff up there with them because the people in Alaska didn't have it. We had a black officer. Captain Smith was from New York. He was our chaplain. He was on board when we were going by train, and he came one Sunday and said, "We're going to God's country. We're going where a man is treated like a man." We got to Alaska and they gave him a separate latrine and a separate place to eat. A separate tent away from the white officers. He was a captain.
Everything from housing to outhousing was segregated. The black troops were set up in remote base camps as far away from towns and local people as possible. Even the Eskimos were told to avoid the black construction engineers.
We had guns, but no ammunition. We discovered where the ammunition was being stored. And when that was found, we all had guns and ammunition.
Once they did get ammunition, of course, the white commanding soldiers then treated them a little differently because now these African Americans have guns and ammunition. So they were just overcoming, obstacle after obstacle in a very proud fashion. The majority of these men were very patriotic.
In a strange irony, they endured the same racist treatment by their own countrymen that was the basic doctrine of Nazi Germany.
The German state, the Bible of the Nazis, the gospel according to Hitler. I'm not going to read all of this, but there are one or two things in this book that will interest you. I quote, "From time to time, the illustrated papers show how a Negro has become a lawyer, a teacher, perhaps even a minister. It never dawns on the degenerate middle-class America that this is truly a sin against all reason, that it is criminal madness to train a born half-ape until one believes one has made a lawyer of him."
I never gave it a thought. I was proud to be an American servant in my country. I don't say I overlooked discriminatory problems and things like that, but my idea was to do a job and come back safely home.
This was a period of rigid segregation. This was a period when blacks served in very limited and confined roles, and they just decided to do the very best they could under the most adverse of circumstances. They needed them in areas where no one else would go, but they wanted to keep them remote from the people, if you will, so that there'd be no fraternization. And it's a difficult situation to imagine today that you're trying to do a job for your country, risking your life, and no one really cares. We just want you to get the job done, thank you very much, and go on to the next task.
Well, I think the general morale of the outfit was very good considering the conditions under which we were working. Well, that's true of all of the work that the black engineer outfits did on the Alaskan highway.
Some of them have not really experienced snow.
It's very hard, back-breaking work.
They gave him a job of building a bridge across one of the streams, which was built in a weekend. We had difficulty in getting fresh food.
A lot of them had no idea what they were getting themselves into.
Brown bears would frequent the camp.
There was that sense of camaraderie or togetherness.
Some were a little extra nice after we found out we had the ammunition.
Despite life-threatening conditions and inferior equipment, typical for all the black regiments, they endured. They used an assembly line methodology. One unit would clear. The next would follow behind, erecting small bridges. The next would grade the road. They built and operated their own sawmill. They were forced to build their own housing because the military tents proved insufficient. All the black regiments completed their road construction on schedule. In 8 months, this highway covered 1,500 miles overland and rivers. During the dedication of the Alcan Highway, just about everyone connected to this incredible engineering feat was welcome, except the nearly 4,000 black soldiers who gave so much.
I think more about the role of the black construction engineers during that period. The Tuskegee Airmen had to be visible for obvious reasons. You know, flying a plane, the president's wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, took a personal interest. I mean, she went down to Tuskegee, took a ride in a plane that was piloted by one of the airmen. But Alaska was remote. And by design, those blacks who were assigned to serve in that remote area were treated with even greater remoteness. I mean, I think the fact of the geographic distance, the fact that the commanding officers didn't want them to play a major role certainly mitigated against any kind of visibility and recognition.
There was a sense of, we're going to beat this, we're going to overcome this, which I think is systemic to the character of African Americans, because throughout history we've always had to make a way when there was no way, and this is just another example of that.
To me, it's a tribute to the men who, some of them who froze and gave their life in a project to protect America.
Having proven themselves under the worst possible conditions, all but the 97th Regiment was reassigned to combat units in Europe and the Pacific. The 97th remained in Alaska for 2 more years until they too joined the combat in Europe. It would take 50 years before the men who made up the Black Corps of Engineers would receive any recognition.
Well, not only did the black men of the 93rd, 95th, and 97th regiments, as well as the 388th Battalion keep busy, they fulfilled their mission beyond the call of duty. I hope you enjoyed this brief journey as we glimpsed the provocative tales, incredible accomplishments, and the undeniable fortitude of a people as they traveled from slave ships to spaceships. On behalf of New Millennium Studios and me, your host, Tim Reed, thanks for watching, and we hope you'll tune in for the next installment of Legacy of a People. History will never be the same.
What have I done, man? I've let myself down. I've let my family down.
can't run, man. I ain't no coward. And Pop's gonna go in on me. And then there's Mum. And what about her? Pop says it all the time. You can run, but you can't hide. But same way Pop's gonna go in on me if I stay, man. Gotta bounce.
Are you going somewhere? What's that? Aaron, I asked you a question. Where are you going? Aaron, I'm talking to you. You're ducking out on me, aren't you, Aaron?
I'm ducking out on you. What are you talking about, man? Hey, look, just listen to what I'm trying to say.
Listen what? What's that?
I don't know what it is, okay? What, are you a police officer or something? Hey, look, just chill, man, alright, yeah? Just stop. Hey, Michelle, don't touch my things like that,
What are your
man.
clothes doing in that gym bag?
Hey, look, it's too much for me, okay? This is just too much stress for me. You don't understand how much stress this brings.
I think I have an idea, thank you very much.
Nah, man, you don't know what it takes.
And you do?
Yes, I do.
Oh, how do you know?
Hey, just stop, man. It's just too much, all right? Look, I've got to go. I can't take this anymore, man. Just...
And you think I'm not stressed?
Listen, look, I'm too young for this. Look, man, listen, Michelle, we're still kids. You know that, yeah? I'm too young for this.
I'm younger than you, Aaron. I'm the one who's carrying it. I'm the one who's going to have to make decisions.
Why is it all about you?
What?
Huh? Yeah, why is it all about you, Michelle? Tell me. Every time it's about you and what you want. I see you. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me fixed on you, innit? Is that what you want? You want to control me, yeah? I've seen your type before. You're trying to trap man. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to trap man into these little games you're playing. I understand. Yeah. Continue, yeah?
If you haven't noticed, I've got plans.
Yeah, cool.
I shouldn't be here. I should be at home, revising.
Go home then.
Instead, I'm stood here talking to you about this bullshit.
Go home then.
Seriously. I've got 3 conditional offers from 3 of the top universities.
Hey, look, I got plans too, you know.
Oh, really?
Look, you see this, yeah? I think, look, it's not working, yeah? Just forget about this. Yeah? Do you understand that? We're done.
Fine.
Cool. Go then. Me and you, we're done. We're over. You get me? Like, we're done.
I heard you the first time.
Cool.
I'll go. But you're not leaving me to raise it all on my own.
That's it. See, well, why are you saying it? That's what I'm trying to say. See, look at you, man. You're saying it.
It was a mistake.
Yeah, a mistake. That's what we are. We were a mistake. This, in fact, is a big mistake. Think about it. Can you do this all by yourself?
No,
Yeah?
because you're going to do your part. Look, do you know what? We don't have any choice.
We do have a choice.
No, we don't.
That's the thing. We do have a choice.
We
It's not
don't-
too late, you know.
Aaron, don't come through that bullshit. You know that's not an option for me.
Are you sure?
Sure about what?
This thing, like... Are you sure it's even mine?
Are you fucking with me right now?
No, seriously. Are you sure you didn't get your test wrong or something?
Seriously, Are you being for real?
No, I'm not even joking here. Like, I've seen your type before, you know. Them type of girls who go crazy. I've seen you. You're lying, innit? Yeah, them setup chicks. You're gonna want me fixed up on you, and then after that, right? 3 months in, you're gonna tell me how you accidentally lost it. Is that what you? Look, I've got plans too, you know. I'm just saying that we need to be careful about this. Yeah?
We've both got plans. I feel as though all I'm hearing from you is I and me, as if I and me made this baby. It was us.
I understand that. I'm not saying I don't want kids, yeah? But just think about it for a second. Are you sure this is what you really want?
Yes. Yes, it is.
We're still kids, man.
But like it or not, we're gonna have to grow up.
This is it, you know. 18 years from now, 20 years from now, we can't look back. This what you really want? Because if it is, then I guess I've got a man up. Come here, man. Come here, man. I'm not going to leave you alone by yourself. You're stupid. I want to be there for you, yeah? Just got to trust me. Yeah? Just got to trust me.
So we got a situation. You've never failing, no. Keep your mind open, y'all. It's the time that they're born. How the moon and stars align. It's a cosmic time.
One of the most interesting things to me about any city in America that's an older traditional city is that every single one has a main street and they have a church street. And here in Norfolk there was a church street that dated back as far as the early part of the 19th century. And as you can imagine, the church street was made up mostly of the prominent churches in the city. But as the city began to develop, by the time we get to the middle to late 19th century, a number of homes and businesses began to spring up in and around that particular corridor.
Washington Avenue was a street where a lot of professionals lived. But in my background, my mother was a domestic worker. And it was a lot of pride, and most of the residents believed in education.
Well, I think Church Street had a lot of good aura about it because of the fact that we had a lot of people that did really good on Church Street, and a lot of people that raised kids and really sent kids to school, and then even though we had some rough times with some people, but once you got to know people on the street, the merchants, the people that was in business, you was all right because you were in the midst of people that cared for each other on the basis of an everyday part, that they would see you and they got to know who you were and what you was all about, because Church Street extended their arm to the people that worked in this area. And it was just amazing to come up here every morning early and see so many people getting activity of business started during the day. And it went along smoothly.
It was a real hustling town back then, back in the day, you know, and there were a lot of sailors. Of course, there were a lot of sailors there, and a lot of things that attract sailors were here also. And every corner, in the middle of the block, there was always some kind of a club or lounge or something. There was always something happening. There was always music on the street. You know, at 2 o'clock in the morning, the place was still bustling. You know, Granby Street was the same thing, up and down, in fact. But you know, mostly, Church Street was all black. I couldn't go to Granby, not too much. We'd slide in every now and then, but we'd be delivering something.
When I grew up in Norfolk, we were probably on the tail end of segregation. And so we still had a lot of Norfolk that was extremely segregated as far as schools are concerned, restaurants, movie theaters, and most of your public accommodations were white only and colored only.
The Church Street that we understand today as being a commercial district, that would emerge after the Civil War, after Reconstruction was over, by the time you got to the 1880s and 90s, where the city was revitalizing itself because it had been an occupied city during the Civil War. And so it's in that time period that a number of businesses would be created. Church Street was not just a black district. There were white businesses, black-owned businesses. You had businesses from whites coming in from Europe. You even had a few Chinese who would create businesses along that Church Street corridor in that time period, the late 19th century. The neighborhood that was contiguous to Church Street, Huntersville, that was seen as an immigrant community. Blacks began to move into that community about at the same time. So you had a wide mixture of people. In fact, it's usually a mistake to say that residential segregation was a common part of American society. It was not. It was actually created starting in the latter part of the 19th century. And so prior to that, people lived next to each other. People rented rooms in the same buildings. And Church Street really mirrored that confluence of people and cultures coming together. And it continued to reflect that really through the 1950s and 60s.
It was very active, and a lot of stores opened up, as you know, and if you want to know that when Easter came, that was the promenade. You go on Church Street, and you could see some of the most colorful outfits. And we had it made. When you put on those Easter outfits and walked up and down Church Street, it was the promenade. So it was really enjoyable. And I enjoyed myself being a kid, get my Easter stuff on, walk down there, and on both sides of the street. Yes, sir. Walk from A Avenue down to Main Street, turn around and come back, that was a good thing for us.
Everybody knew everybody. Everybody interact with everybody. My best friend Linda and I went to St. Joseph's, which was right on Bramilton Avenue. And then after school, her dad owned T.C. Williams Cleaners. So after school, she would go to the cleaners and I would go to the shop. And it was no such thing as child labor laws. You just helped. It was a family. And you came in and you did what you had to do. And I did my homework there. And we were there at dinner time, so we usually had Chinese food, or the 5 and 10 cent Woolworths was right down the street, or we ate at Woolworths. So this was a normal routine, and there was no problems. We never had any problems, and that was during this big segregation time. But we never had any problems with segregation there because everybody knew everybody. And with my dad, if you wanted to have your photo taken and you didn't have any money, he'd still take your picture. So I guess that's why we're not rich. But he didn't care. Everybody, if anybody was broke and they came to him, he always had a few dollars to help out anybody that was down on their luck. And all the business owners in the area helped out. Linda's father, as I said, owned the cleaners. And they would clean the clothes for the nuns and the priest. So it was, everything. My girlfriend Rita's dad owned a grocery store. So if you needed something, you went to the grocery store there. That was on Bramilton Avenue. And as far as I can remember, it's always this area has not really had a big segregation thing. I do remember one time Linda and I were going to the movies, but we did not realize because nobody had told us about the segregation, and we didn't have any problems where we were because Church Street, it was black and white on Church Street, even though I guess we didn't realize that was where we were supposed to be, and then the white people were supposed to be on Granby Street. And when you went to Woolworths on Granby Street, you went through the back door, and you got they had the best hamburgers in the world. But
I remember the lady who used to serve.
Yeah, but the thing was, the people that cooked the food there were black people, so we got the best of everything. The folks that ate at the front got what we didn't want. So it was great for us anyway. But as I said, Linda and I went to Granby Street to the movies. And when we got there to the counter, the lady, she kind of acted a little weird, I guess, but she took our money, and the two of us went in and sat down. We didn't know that we were causing a problem until after we got back home and told our parents. And they were like, "You went where?" And so we were telling them, like, that was when we found out that this was for us and that was for other people.
Well, I think one of the most memorable was watching the Daddy Grace Parade on the 4th of July. Boy, and they had a parade because you had the Eureka Lodge and you had other high school bands, Boogie T High School band, and they would put on parade that would just really rock the street. I mean, rock the street. And people came from everywhere just to see that parade during the 4th of July weekend. So that was quite a moment that really got to people. Yeah. And I think the other one was when Dr. King came and walked the church and went to Seymour's barbershop. I remember that incident.
At the beginning of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln made a decision to hold on to Fort Monroe in Hampton. And because of that, because he saw that as a critical place where the Union Army would make its assault against the Confederacy. Since once Virginia seceded from the Union, Richmond became the capital of the Confederacy. And so it's from Fort Monroe that the intent was to not only control the entire region, but also to launch campaigns that would eventually take Richmond. And so Norfolk was an important part of that particular strategy. So by May of 1862, Abraham Lincoln actually came to this area and spotted out locations where the troops would land from Fort Monroe. So one of the places was Ocean View, and the other place was Sewell's Point, about the area where the naval base is located. And they marched slowly into the county first of Norfolk, and then into the city. And the city was really very small. It was only about 4 square miles, just as the sister to Norfolk, Portsmouth, was only 2 square miles in size. And so the city is really from the Elizabeth River at that time, the Civil War, up to where Scope is, at the intersection where you have Granby Street and you have Church Street and you have perpendicular to that Bramilton Avenue. That was the extent of the city of Norfolk. And so they slowly marched into the city, allowing any Confederates who wanted to leave to escape the city. And they set up what would eventually become headquarters number 1 during Reconstruction.
A lot of the businesses after the 1960s with the Civil Rights Movement, the businesses just started to decline. One of my mother's moments I can remember her saying is that integration, when it did take place, it took a lot of the businesses. In some ways it helped, and in some ways it hurt. And sometimes she always got the slogan backwards in some ways. But I believe that's what the decline of the black businesses on Church Street during that time in the 60s, that's what happened to them.
In fact, you actually had a lot of people from Richmond and from eastern North Carolina during the Civil War come into Norfolk and find land in the region, or they would find a job working with the government in some capacity, or they would join the military and get mustered into one of the United States colored troops. There were at least 4 of them that were organized here in the Norfolk-Portsmouth area. And so Norfolk really became a hub. We would see a significant increase in the black population, especially with the decrease in the white population. Blacks came in massive numbers. But because of the beginnings of the Great Depression, and there were 2 Great Depressions, one started in 1890 and the other started essentially in 1930. So in 1890, a lot of blacks left the city and went to rural areas in search of land, or went to New York. In fact, so many immigrants from Norfolk went to New York and settled in the area of Harlem, they actually called that section Little Norfolk. And they had an association called the Sons and Daughters of Norfolk. You had to have been born in Norfolk or had a parent born in Norfolk. And this was a prominent organization in New York City. And so it wasn't really until the 19-teens and 20s that we would see a number of blacks attracted back to this area. First to Newport News because of the Newport News Shipbuilding Association. You had Huntington, who was very interested in hiring blacks. In fact, a man by the name of Brown would come there and start a bank because so many blacks were employed at the shipyard. Then he would come over to Norfolk and start the Brown Savings Bank. And this would help to jumpstart a lot of businesses. It would help a number of blacks to develop homes. In fact, he had a savings program. Started out first with a Christmas savings program and then went into a home building savings program. And this really helped to transform Norfolk. It helped to transform Huntersville, which was contiguous to the Church Street corridor. It helped to transform that Butte Street area and Bank Street area, which was contiguous once again to Church Street. That's where middle class blacks lived. And a lot of these people were professionals. You had physicians, you had attorneys, you had business entrepreneurs, you had bankers who were living in that area, insurance representatives, and so it helped to jumpstart a lot of their businesses and begin creating this very vibrant commercial district that was seen as the Black District in Norfolk.
The reality of the street, though, is what its history tells us, and history tells us what a great melting pot the street was. Its real heyday was was fused by the German Jewish migration in the 19th century. Of course, it was older than that, but you really saw the life starting to come into it in the 19th century, and then early 20th century history, and you saw an influx of, you had the African American community right alongside the German Jewish community and the Japanese community and many others who found Church Street to be the most welcoming for all their businesses and the arts.
You started to see this class of black professionals coming in around in the 19-teens, and these are lawyers and physicians and professionals of all sort, as well as a group or cadre of educated people who were teachers. They formed the basis of the middle-class black community, and they were coming in, and they were not suffering as much as the working classes in this area during that recession period. By the early 1920s, you had something like 20 black banks and savings and loans, and while some of them wouldn't survive beyond maybe 5 years, it really highlighted how there was a lot of money being exchanged and a lot of revenue being generated in the area.
Most of my early childhood was spent in 5-block radius of where I'm standing. I was born about 3 blocks away from here, and the house in which I spent most of my early childhood was right across the street. And 719 Chapel, my grandmother's boarding house. And the school that I attended was in this vacant lot across here. Just about everything I know about childhood and all the fun and the life lessons was learned on this block and the surrounding blocks. The thing that really hurts me is when I look here, not only has it been totally changed, but there's not one brick or one resemblance of anything that was like when I was here. No homes. From that corner down to this corner, there must have been about 15 homes that were black owned. Of course, the school was here, and they're all gone. What's left is subsidized housing that the city owns, but all of the wealth that was created by people like my grandmother owning their houses with their equity and the wealth of their family in their homes are all gone. They tore them down. And what has been replaced is, of course, merchants from outside of the community, but everything else is all gone. Why the school? I have no idea.
NRHA is an agency that provides real estate development services as well as property management services to the city of Norfolk, as well as some other entities. We also do work for real estate development work for Old Dominion University, as well as some work for Norfolk State. And Norfolk State is certainly an important partner for NRHA in community development.
Urban removal, as I call it, came in and took most of these houses by eminent domain, gave them a fraction of what they were worth, and basically eliminated that part of the wealth of the family. I was born in a house about 2 blocks from here, and from that point, when I came back here as a young kid, this was my world. It's 5-block radius. I'm 2 blocks away from Church Street, where I hung out as a kid, and again, all of my life lessons was learned in this sort of 5-block area.
After the war, so many things were happening, and I can't quite say what year it was, but I knew it was on the decline. Some of the streets that were there, you don't see them anymore. There's a street that was running in there called Denby, Hull Street, and for some reason, it just began to fail. And I can't tell you exactly what year it was, but I just saw that it wasn't like it used to be.
I remember when it started changing, when the city of Norfolk came to my dad and offered him money for the shop. And they were explaining that they were doing revitalization of the city of Norfolk and how it was just going to be wonderful for everybody. And my dad wasn't getting kind of, he was older. I had already graduated from high school, and I was going to John Jay. So, yeah, they were out there age-wise. So they talked and everything, and then they came back again with a better offer. So when they came back with that better offer, they took it. And then after that, it was like place by place, you know, with Linda's dad. This is what happened with the cleaners. They offered him a substantial amount of money, and he took it, but he didn't leave the area. My dad left and went to California. So, but Linda's father left the Bramilton Avenue and moved over to and bought land on Only Road. So that's his place is still there. But that's how it started changing, was just little by little until they got all of the businesses off of Church Street.
You ruin a street and you ruin that vibrancy of it, the lifeblood of it when you cut it apart. It's like it to me, it's just like cutting off appendages, you know, on a person. You start taking away lifeblood, you know, of it. And that's, to me, what happened in Church Street. When they reconfigured the street at the other end and cut it off from the rest of downtown, that was, to me, and I think that's been recognized as a mistake. It shouldn't have happened. But they did it because they were working on that interstate ramp in that area where they wanted to put a shopping center in the city at that time. And they put it there, but look what happened to it. It's no longer even, you know, a vibrant piece.
I really appreciate young people like you. It appears that you're working on something that will bring life to the black community, and especially those persons who have heard the word Church Street, and especially those who have really walked that journey. And I think it's wonderful because I'm 81 years old, but I never thought that Church Street would have quotation marks around its name. And I guess if I had known it, I would have paid more attention to it, thinking about something of this experience. But as I walked down Washington Avenue to Church Street, it never dawned on me that anybody would even think, 50 years from that time would be interested in knowing about how a community could develop to really give life to maybe another community like Church Street. So I thank God for young people like you and the emphasis that you have put on something that I never dreamed of. As many times I walked down Church Street, I never had any idea that 2013 someone would be trying to bring history back in a different direction.
Our next guest is an actor and comedian. He was the second longest running cast member on Mad TV. He was in the film Jerry Maguire and The Pest. It is Ari Spears.
What's up, young man?
What's up, baby?
How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Thank you for having me, brother. DL, before we get into this, can I say something real quick?
Sure, of course.
Okay. I'm 45 years old, so I'm not up on all the latest lingo.
Right.
Like I never knew until recently what thought meant, bay, no cap, lit. But a lot of people been hitting me up on Instagram going, hey man, we want to give you your flowers now. And I'm like, damn, am I fitting to die?
Well, this
celebrate you while you still here. So DL, I want to give you your flowers.
No, don't put that
please.
shit on me, nigga. No, I'm all right.
No.
I'm all right.
I want to say thank you for having me. And as I've always told you, I think you're one of the smartest, most intellectual comics of this generation. Because you and Joe Torre made me tighten up my game. People got to understand there's levels to this comedy shit. And being funny is one thing, But like Jordan, there's levels to your skill. So being able to do crowd work, being able to do blue comedy, clean comedy, impressions, voices, and you and Joe Torre are two of the coldest niggas when it comes to eating hecklers up, chewing them up, and spitting them out. So you made me tighten up my game.
Good, man.
Those are nice flowers.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Better than the woman they sing in the upper room. I bet it's better than that. So you know, I've always had a great amount of respect for you. And recently, I don't, well, people were hitting me because I didn't really take umbrage to it, but I posted something that Mike Epps sent. Reposted something that Mike Epps sent, and basically you had a bit of a, well, it was a quandary as to why I would post something like that. So basically, Mike Epps was talking about a situation where the young man was killed, I think in Indianapolis, and he said, you know, we have to stop killing each other. So that basically words to the effect that we were killing each other, so they kill us. And you took, which is a sentiment that I totally disagree with. But you took umbrage to the fact that it was posted on my page, right?
Well, yeah, because I was shocked, and I said to myself, as intelligent as DL is, I know he caught that. So if he caught that, why would he repost that?
Right.
And that was just a head scratcher to me.
Right.
Because I felt it was a very dangerous message to try to put out there. And as I've said adamantly, I agree with Mike. Black people, we need to stop killing each other. We need to do better. But those are two separate conversations.
They definitely
somehow insinuate, yes, and trying to somehow insinuate that cops kill us because they see us kill us is just flat out asinine.
It is.
Because history has shown us that they've been killing us way before black on black crime was ever a thing, a la the movie Rosewood, a la Black Wall Street. Elise Neal, a woman who you've worked with, actually hit me up in confusion like, what's this about? I'm hearing my name.
Right.
So I just let her know, sweetie, I'm not disrespecting you. I just brought up Rosewood as an example because you was in the movie.
Right.
So, you know, back when black people were well-to-do, a tight-knit community, we loved and we respected each other, we would often, you know, be hung in our Sunday's best while we wore our Sunday's best 7 days a week.
Right.
You know, we were thriving. We had our own businesses. You know, there wasn't black on black crime. We were respectful of one another, and they still did what they did.
Right.
So to somehow put that message out there, I just think is a dangerous narrative for white police officers to hide behind their bigotry.
I think that you're absolutely right, and I had that conversation with. Listen to me. I think that is a sentiment that is more dangerous than the phrase "nigger." I think that it is probably if you utter a phrase like that every time something happens, then you are tantamount to at least you might as well sign your name on the death certificate because you have been some ways complicit because that's absolutely what they say. But I want to be clear. I reposted the sentiments of a man that I respect and love.
And I got that.
I'm not like, look, you don't have to. I don't have to be beholden to your perspective. I don't have to agree with your perspective. But you know, it's interesting because I don't want to be that evocative where I only hear what I want and repost the things that I like because some things are about conversation. And you and I've never seen myself as a leader, never portrayed myself as a leader, never acted like one, never asked for the gig. I'm not here to correct speech. I'm here to tell you exactly how I feel about things. I think that to your point, you're absolutely right. I think that phrase, there was a cat named Warren Saunders, who wrote a piece in the Chicago Defender in 1970 where he was talking about a young man who was a pimp and who preyed on his people, and he coined the phrase black on black crime. But later on in that same article that people, you know, the phrase they got, but later on in that same article, he alluded to the fact that people alluded to the fact that it was systematic oppression of people who were in a geographic area. So people who had been, I can't recall the phrase exactly, but it talked about how people in a place, because the biggest indicator, the biggest predictor of crime is not race or ethnicity, it's poverty. The fact that so many black people living in impoverished places, I challenge anybody to show me a place that's poor and safe, because that just generally don't go together. But I think you are right in that. I think that phrase is very deadly, and I think that you do have a responsibility. But my gig is not to tell people how to think. That's not my thing.
I don't think your gig is to tell people how to think. But let me backtrack. When you say you're not a leader, now are we leaders to the extent of a Medgar Evers, a Martin Luther King, or a Malcolm X? Those are the icons of leadership. But like the movie Spider-Man, when Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. Sure. And you have an outlet. Right. You have a platform and a voice that a lot of people don't have.
Sure.
I have that same voice and that same platform, as does Mike. So I think we should, while we're not iconic leaders, I think people listen to you. I think they listen to me, and I think they listen to Mike. And if somehow what we say helps you, influences you, guides you, I think we got to be careful about what we say.
But see, I think that's, for at least to me on the outside looking into this conversation about, what you guys posted. My thing is this, from my perspective, as just the regular person who might go through and see the page, I think it's important that you do have these types of conversations. So if you post something that perhaps you don't necessarily agree with everything, but it is a talking point, I think the problem with us in the past decade or two, actually, maybe more than that, is that we're not talking. And people who do have a major platform, such as yourself, as DL, we need to have these conversations. And we would never know that there is a disagreement and how to harmonize and get on the same page so that we all can collectively come to some agreement.
But it's a misnomer to believe that we have to come to. I'm just going to say that it's a misnomer that we have to come. The greatest thing that ever happened because of dissent. Some of the greatest accomplishments that we ever made, the greatest strides forward, will happen because of dissent. You're right. To your point, I do have a platform. You have a platform. Mike has a platform. My only obligation, in my estimation, is to be as truthful from my perspective as I can be, and to allow someone else to have a perspective that they equally attached to, and that they have a different perspective of, because it is arrogant and foolhardy to believe that I have the answers and that I am right. And to your point, I've never said, the only thing I'm a leader of in my estimation is from my perspective, is what I believe, what I know. The only thing I'm an expert at is my beliefs, and everything else is just a guess. And so you're a cat who I've watched grow, like not just comedically, but as a human being. And I think you've had some ups and downs, and that has only kind of sharpened and honed and shaped your experiences. But and I love the fact that you are now, not even just now, but now you have this idea of the way that things should be and ought be, that isn't happening, and you take umbrage to that. But I don't feel as if I am entitled to tell people how they should think.
Well, again, I'm not trying to tell people how they should think.
Agreed.
But for those that, look, everybody doesn't have leadership skills, and some people need to be led. Right. And again, I'm not being cocky enough to think that I can lead anybody, nor am I trying to. But I think that while we're trying to figure this out, we should be careful about the narratives we put out there.
Agreed.
Now, I'm going to go a little off topic,
Agreed.
but kind of still on topic.
Right.
This is what bothers me when I hear black people publicly shit on Obama. What has he done for us?
Right.
What have they done for us? So let's take Michelle Obama. I had several black women who would hit me in my DMs and go, so what that she was the first lady? That's symbolism. What did they really do for us? Oh, wait a minute. Once upon a time ago, and even still today, black girls have always, black women in particular, have always been made to feel ugly. Nappy hair, dark skin, big lips, wide noses. So to see that kind of cultural symbolism of a black woman named Michelle Obama, sophisticated, got her shit together, classy, in that position, if that gives some little black girl somewhere in this country hope and makes her feel better, if she's feeling suicidal because her skin is too dark, her nose is too wide, her lips is too big, her hair is too coarse, and she's being made fun of, if Michelle Obama serves as a beacon of light or hope to uplift that child's spirits, to make her not kill herself, to instill some self-esteem, are we that comfortable as black people that we're going to denounce the importance of that symbolism? Are we there?
I could not agree with you more. And I think that when people say dumbass shit like that, what I'll say to them is the most educated segment of the population in the United States of America is black women.
Black women.
The most entrepreneurial, the most they have the most optimism toward the future, and they have that because they saw something. And I think that when people, it's so selfish, like when I hear people say, what am I going to get if I vote? Or what? Things are more than just about you. Things are past you. Legacies are about what you do, not for you and the now, but for someone else and the later. And I absolutely agree with you. And I think that where I'm not formally educated. I don't, there are a lot of things, machinations I don't understand or go through. I think that it is foolhardy to believe that discourse, that my perspective is the only one that matters and that discourse isn't healthy. I think it is. I think that what you're saying and doing right now is very helpful. And it's decidedly different from who I knew you to be like when we first started out. You're not the same kid you were. So it's hard for me to hear this bullshit from you. But I can tell you this.
Well,
I can tell you this. I can tell Paul Mooney would be proud of you. Like I can tell that Paul Mooney would be proud of you right now.
I'm proud of that nigga. 'Cause that nigga knows it's freedom time. All of you niggas have been fooled by that goddamn Popeyes chicken sandwich. All of you niggas stand in line for that sandwich. You've lost yourself. You've lost your way. God damn it. These white folks love it when niggas go. They love it. Let me just say, Dia, and let me just say, again, let me go back to the Obama point. Because I've spoken on this passionately, and I've caught a lot of shit.
Right,
from
you
black
have.
folks.
Right.
And I almost wish you would also, and I hope in this opportunity, you say something. Because again, when we publicly shit on Obama,
Absolutely.
for the racist white people that don't like him for the real reason they don't like him, we now give them the opportunity to go,
I think
"See,
you're absolutely right.
His own people don't like him. So why should I? Knowing that's not the reason you don't like him. So whatever it is, black people, whatever discrepancy we have with what Obama may have done or not done, let's keep what going on in our community, like black on black crime in our locker room.
I think you're absolutely right. Here's where I disagree. I think that the phrase "black on black crime" is a symbol of self-hatred. I think that is.
I agree too.
It is.
I'm just
it is.
telling you what to say.
It is believing that we are somehow deviant. Crime is about proximity. People around people kill people around people. In terms of Obama, I don't think we're so fragile. Like, I really believe that America has, this is my personal opinion, America never deserved a man who comported himself as well in that office as he has. You can't think of a modern president in the last 40 years that didn't have some level of scandal. He loved this country and the idea of it, and he was aspirational enough to,
and still does.
And so, but where I differ from you is my estimation of him doesn't change based on somebody else's circumstances, and his legacy isn't so fragile that some people not agreeing with it will erode it. He will stand the test of time because he was an exemplary man and did an exemplary thing. There's not one human being that's being objective that can compare his legacy to Donald Trump's legacy and not see a better human being, a better president, and a better American. Right. So but I think that those kinds of arguments fall on their face, and they don't necessarily need me to kind of guide them through it. They don't need me to do it.
Well, let me ask you this, and again, this is where I will disagree with you.
Sure.
We're
having the friendliest disagreement.
I was about to say.
They do need you.
A lot of
But let me
bass in
ask
it.
you, do you think when they go, what did Barack do for us? Do you think he did something for us?
I think that he did. I think he did. He passed the most the most forward-thinking legislation in modern American history, the Affordable Health Care Act. Not only did he do something for us as black people, he did something for the American public. Like the people right now who are dying right now, who are struggling right now and dealing with the very pandemic he also had the foresight to prepare America for things that weren't even there. So had people followed his example, if Donald Trump were weren't trying to destroy everything Obama did and learn from him, because I think that's all of us, we have an obligation to learn from the people who did it before, we wouldn't be in this pandemic right now. Had he not disbanded some of the things that Obama done, had he not been trying to erode his legacy and tried to learn from him. So I think that he loved America so much he thought of it not just in the now, he thought of it in the future. He gave America life insurance.
But you know what? Also, but from the
to
very
black people that are listening, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
To the black people that are listening, Obama was the president of the country, not